Howdy folks, it's Meandering Mike in the Man Cave of Madness. It's the middle of the late afternoon, and we are doing an unboxing, not of comic book stuff, but that just happens to be what this box is. But so I was digging around in the man cave looking for certain game design supplies. I'm working on my card game, and I'm needing to find blank card decks with backs, but the front side's blank that you can write on with dry erase markers. And while I was trying to find my supply of those, I stumbled on this box. And so I want to take a look at the weird stuff that's in here. If you see any weird old addresses on them, they're old, so these are, well, ink pads, but the main items in here are, here they are, Trailblazer Game Stamps. Let me zoom out here so I can see more of this. This was a Kickstarter that I supported. I think it was a Kickstarter. Pretty certain it was a Kickstarter. To be able to make maps. I used to love making maps as a kid. I'd buy the SPI blank maps. Okay, this. I'm gonna get all this stuff out of this box, and then I'm gonna, let's see. Some of this stuff is, these are just empty little holder things. Okay, that's all miscellaneous garbage. Let's just, oops, sorry folks. Things going over. Stay. Okay, do we have too much glare coming in there? Oh, am I gonna be able to take care of that? Hang on one moment, folks. Will this solve that problem? Partially. I think it's the reflection off that. Good afternoon sun coming through the window. Wow, no, that's just as bad, if not worse. Let's turn this back on. Hopefully I'll have the time to figure this out and edit this part out, but you know, Meandering Mike, let me meander through things. All right, so how does that look? A little bit better, but not a lot. Wow, where is that? Is that? I don't know. That. Well, if we focus in front of us, it won't be as bad. All right, so the things of importance. I'm not even sure what's in this little box here. If it's even labeled. These are for sponging in certain ways. I can't remember the. Right. This, I believe, if I remember correctly, is a template for, yeah, all right, so it's somewhat fragile. But so that it is there, so you could stamp, you could color across this whole thing to make colored hexagons with the color of your paper showing. As long as you didn't, move this, you held this down tight, and you somehow rubbed your ink across the top or had a big stamp. I suppose you could laden one of these with something and stamp over it or something to do that. This side here is kind of smooth and silky almost. I'm not sure, again, what. I have to go back and read through the. Wow, that is interesting. This guy does not want to stand still. The plastic on the bottom is a little rough. Let me tilt him back. All right, so hex stencil kit. See, they're ink pads that you can glue onto a stamp. Blending tools. Wooden handle foam applicator attached to the end. Foam is removable, so you can use different applicator with each of your ink pads. Okay. Using the stencil. Rub the blending tool across it, creating a faint hexagonal pattern. Now, if you had like white paper, you could put ink on this surface and then try to press that down, but this is so flexible. If you're holding it in place here and rubbing over slightly, you're getting a faint hex shape here. Again, you're sort of suggesting it. If you're not solid inking, I don't know, that seems a little weird. It's like you'd want the reverse. You'd want to have these lines cut in, but see where you'd have these shapes that wouldn't, you'd have to have like little connectors. So I've obviously never tried this. You don't need to add water, a little paper, bubble squirt. So this was sort of an afterthought. This wasn't. Yeah, I can't get it. I don't remember if it was a Kickstarter or just some pre-order on their site thing. Because I remember buying stuff from them in at least 2 different waves. Here was my intention, is you have some kind of a hex grid and you're just stamping on it, right? So you've got some kind of paper that has a hex grid and you can make all these different effects, these different things, whether it's a role-playing map or a board game map. Here's how they show you can use the shoreline dots, or what are these dots, coastlines, cliffs, or outlines of that. So let me see if I can find what's in these. Okay, so I'm gonna tilt. So more inks, and then the stamps. So you've got things like a big farm, field patterns, and then like individual plots, gardens. If you're used to playing something like Age of Empires 2 or something, you're used to seeing like farm and other games, those building civ type games. Okay, campfire. Not sure that's intended to be like a tunnel entrance for a mine. Could almost look like a tent. More like a tunnel entrance, a mine entrance. There is more of a hut or a tent. Palm tree. Big compass, which unfortunately I think they should all be oriented towards north, south, and the W and the E, as opposed to this it's as you rotate it, they got one direction on the top, but that's not what you normally see, right? All right. Whoa, yep, gotta have here be dragons out there on your map. Little ship, more waves. That's like a stockade fort, wooden stockade, or wooden palisade, as they call it. A nice castle. A bunch of palm trees. It's just a divider or something. Okay, I guess this is supposed to be like that. We're talking about cliffs or a coast. It could be beach, coastline. It could be cliffs. And you could use that to make cave walls. So this was that. This stamp is all this stuff here. Ways to use this one little dude. Okay, it was www.gamestamps.com. Trailblazer Game Stamps. Okay, so that's all these guys here. I'm not gonna fit them all back in there carefully for now. Obviously, I will put them away. Mike meandering through all these goodies. Yeah, I bought these quite a few years ago. 2-3 years ago, somewhere in there. And of course, so many projects, never get around to them. So, all these ink pads are unopened, unused pads, never. Bushes. Of course, then when you look for these things, you can't find them. And instead, I'm looking for other things, and I find these other things instead. All right. Another kind of tree. Maybe that's like an apple tree or a peach tree or something. A nice pine tree, a little for a Christmas tree type tree. All right, here we go. We can see these readily just like that, right? So a single tower, like a Stonehenge, another kind of castle compared to the other one that we saw. Different kinds of deciduous trees, more evergreens, grass or swamp. You could use that for either one. Here's a mixed, that's just sandy. You could use that for the desert. This would be rolling hills, mountains, and water. So many different kinds of terrain. Now, I had these other boxes in here that I don't know if they're actually related to this one has this had miniatures in it one time. These look like the individual tiny wrapping things. That's empty. Just empty box got stuffed in there, so that's not anything of interest. Anticlimactic. This is full of cotton balls. Now, there could easily be some minis packed in here, or there's just me. I'm sorry. This might just be cotton balls. I know I got a bunch of miniatures that were well packed. That were. Yep. I think this is just nothing but cotton balls. It is. I felt nothing. Nothing poked me. Some guys pack, like if there's units have spears or something, they'll put the cotton balls on each spear. So that was nothing. So was there anything of interest in these? Clean the stamps, using the stamps, ink, paper, other supplies. We looked at this one. This is about the stencils. So that looks like it, folks. We got all these ink colors. Oh, wait. Aha, these. Those are those handles. Okay, so it's Velcro. That's what it is. So, those were in here, yes. So, this side, hook and loop. It's loop, but it's, we got, I'm just going to tear into it. Alrighty. So that should, yep. So you got a sponge. You can mix colors or single color and use that for just blending colors. And so for the stencil, that's what they were talking about, having the stencil out and just sort of wiping over it lightly to get your color. I mean, you could just daub down also and try to get the color suggesting your, and you end up having the borders of the hexagons would be the color of the paper coming through underneath. So, you know, if you had a white paper, you'd use some color ink and you'd have little white hexagon lines, or you could use a darker paper, but depending on your ink, you're not necessarily going to show up too much. So you're adding some ink on top of a, you know, a thing. You make the one part darker, but you'd have to experiment. So, but is that? Oh yeah, see, that's bad. The hook part is coming off. All right, Wimpy Design. So they got a staple here, an adhesive, but when I just started pulling it naturally, that adhesive was coming off. So I don't know if there should have been like 4 of these staples. I suppose I could add staple, get my staple gun out. I wonder if they still build them that way or not, or needed a better, stronger adhesive. So, all right. So that is Meandering Mike in the Man Cave of Madness, unboxing these what I call game design supplies. My original intention was for role-playing game maps, and I thought, well, they're great for making prototype board game, war game maps. Just doing them by hand real quick. The question is, these size designs, do you have a hex that's big enough, right? These would way overflow old half-inch hexes. So you could use those little tiny ones in those, no problem, right? But the bigger ones would not fit. Yeah, how big does that come out? Well, see, cluster of buildings that could fit. Acting as your town, probably. But your big castle fortification would probably spill over. So that would not work. But you could use the tower, and that would fit in a half-inch hex. So, again, something to experiment with here, see what will work. And I know I have half-inch hex maps around, and I'd have to see what else I have for other bigger ones. And I'm sure I can find templates online and just print them. But I have like lots of, well, I don't know, lots, a few dozen 22 by 34 inch SPI style maps, and that big size in the half-X inch maps. So that'd be fun. So let's wrap it up here. This was Trailblazer Game Stamps. I'm not sure if this here is their own line of inks or these Ranger archival inks or not. I think it's something they were selling, but you know, obviously don't make them. But I can't remember if maybe the distress inks were. I don't think so, actually. But all the game stamps and the stencil and that was all of their design. I wonder how they're doing. I should look them up. Gamestamps.com. See if they're still in business. They made it through the pandemic and all that stuff. So I'm going to sign off here. Meandering Mike, Man Cave of Madness. It is again, middle of the late afternoon. Just about time to go watch Dan and Artie on the Chit Show. If you watch that, you should. If you don't. So everyone out there, take care. Ciao. And yeah, enjoy playing around with your supplies.